Are you struggling to overcome overwhelm and invisibility in your business? Have you been trying to just find that right story, that right message that connects to your audience, that connects you to your business, and why you have it in the first place? If so, you are in the right place because today our guest, Tovit Neizer, a multidisciplinary entrepreneur, is sharing her inspiring journey from starting her first business when she was 12 all the way to her current role as a founder of Yellow Roads. You are going to love this conversation. Hello, friend. I'm Kendra, and you've tuned into the Invisible to Invincible podcast, where passionately driven business owners share their journeys from hidden gems to industry leaders. Together, we'll uncover the secrets, mental shifts, and visibility and marketing strategies that turn these hidden gems into undeniable forces. So hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Welcome, Tovit. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Before we get started, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you're doing today?
Sure. So I'm today the owner of Yellow Bricks Consulting. It's a consultancy firm. What we do is help technological companies and startups fine tune and carve out the business story. Anything to do with storytelling, with content strategy, with naming, wording, branding, positioning. I can call it a fractional CMO, coming and helping them convey their messaging outside. I started my career actually in journalism. Then I had a content creation company. Then I was hit by a startup bug. So I had two software startups. Then I joined a third one, which was hardware, and I led the marketing and business development there until it was acquired. Then I shifted backwards to helping other technological companies grow their business.
Wow. So you've had several businesses over the years. That's
Correct.
fantastic. What age were you, if you don't mind my asking, were you when you started your first business?
30, even before 30, 30-ish. Yeah. I consider myself a multidisciplinary entrepreneur, meaning I'm not settled with one thing because I'm very curious and I like to learn about different things and to try things that are of interest to me. So I had all these new, like small startups, but not technological. I invented when I was 26, I think, an in-flight magazine for children. So when you fly with your kids or young kids who fly by themselves and they have just a stewardess accompanying them, they could read about the destination. So I created big one a mock-up and I sold some advertisements slots there. And I got in touch with an airline company that agreed to deliver that and distribute that to kids on the plane. Naturally, it wasn't really viable as a business. So it didn't pick up. It didn't, fly as I wanted. But anything that sparked my curiosity or interest, I kind of went with it since I was a kid. Well, the first one was when I was 12. Okay, now you got me.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, it was the summer holiday, and I was, I guess, the only child who woke up really, really early every morning to go to the bakery, get the buns, made the sandwiches, then walk through the offices, sell those. And by 10 a.m., when everyone started waking up, I was counting the money. So, yeah, I don't know. Entrepreneurship was always there. It's a bug. You can't really get
Mm-hmm.
rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
still there. It's still here.
what are some of the things, because you've been doing this for a while and you've had several different businesses, and can you talk about some of the shifts that you've made throughout that took you from into technology and out of technology to begin with?
Right. So into technology has to do a lot with the personal ordeal. My mom, when she was 50, she passed away on her 50th birthday on a plane. Yeah. Going to Thailand for a holiday with my dad. Yeah. That was crazy. But then years later, yeah. years later, I became a mom myself, and I felt that my girls, I knew that my girls never met her, but I really wanted her to be present in their life.
Mhm.
So I thought of a digital platform that would be like a memorial, digital memorial, a place where you will gather all the memories of one person, be it the videos, the photos, the recipes,
Yeah.
the songs they loved or songs they sang. Same with videos and movies, and just one place of commemoration and then shared with others, and then others can add their own perspective of that personal and the memorabilia they have or her. And I started that with kind of hope that this would be her, living memorial.
Uh,
Sadly enough, failed,
oh.
but that was not very shocking because I, the person who created it, wanted to use that, never used it.
Oh.
And it took years afterwards to realize that most people, myself included, do not want to kind of sit and lie with the memories. And if they do want to commemorate someone, they want to do that through life. So
Mhm.
what I invented or initiated with time was to do once a month. We call it Grandma Day. So that's a fun day that I take my daughters to do something paid off my mom's not real credit card. Like she would buy you whatever you want. Let's go
Yeah.
and do what she would want to do with you. So it started as things that she loved, like she loved playing piano and painting. So we would go out to places and do that and have fun doing that. And after a while, we thought if she were here, if she was here, it would have been whatever you would like. I mean, if you would like to go shopping and do silly things, she would do that naturally as a grandmother.
Mm.
Nothing to do with what she loves, but all about you. And that's what it shifted into, like going to the movies, going shopping, and just having fun and calling it grandma days. And memorizing, coming up with things and memories that they don't own, but now it's theirs. Like things she would say, things she would do. So sometimes tech is helpful and sometimes it's just not the right fit.
Yeah.
So that's out of tech and in tech. And yeah, I think that was the shift.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. One of the things that my sister and I decided for my niece and nephew we would do for my brother's children is that every year for their birthday and for the holidays, instead of doing presents for them, we give them adventures.
Oh,
So it's become a routine for us where we make this big birthday board. We tried paring it down. We tried doing other things. While we've streamlined it over the years, it's still the board is essential. There's certain things, and it's amazing even as kids, like the routine of the day, right? They know they're going to get a board. They know that there's the number of adventures to the year they were born, right? So if they're turning, my nephew
wow.
just turned 9, he had 9 adventures that day. And some of them are small, some are big, and each one has an envelope. Sometimes there's bonuses, and sometimes they're as simple as we're going to play soccer, show us your best soccer tricks at the beach. We all have to like roll a dice and do the number of tricks with a soccer ball that's on the dice. Two, we took them on a sailboat, right? Like they vary big and small, but it's that routine and it's that building those memories and those experiences and building those stories that they can take with them later. And that's you're doing that with Grandma Day, which is beautiful as well. But those memories are
Yeah.
things that they just absolutely love.
I just love your idea. And we subscribe to that with our girls. As the parents, we never buy presents. We
Hmm.
just do something and we give them memories
Yep.
to hold on to and cherish. Because you buy this squashy melon or whatever you call that doll, and my daughter has all her baddies lined up with all them. And you can really tell who is the girl and who's that doll. But that's for friends. And
Hmm.
we tell her we do something together. We go on a holiday, which is for you. We go on a vacation, do things together. That's not physical, not
Absolutely.
tangible.
Now, here's my question. How do you take that kind of experiences and do that with your clients and do that with make your clients and the work you're doing now memorable in that way?
Wonderful. So It starts with a memorable or actionable event where we meet up and we have a long session of understanding why they're doing what they're doing. What sparked that? Why they're doing this and not something else? If they would have an opportunity or a chance, would they do something else? Or maybe their passion isn't there. Once we understand really what's in it that prompted them to solve that technological problem, something happening in the family, maybe medical device company, solving something that's close to their heart, or anything else. We dive in and we find the motivation and we think of the mission and the vision. From there, we start to understand the language and the story behind it at times could serve us if they're on stage delivering a presentation, if their presentation itself start with the personal story, that's where we capture the audience attention, be it buyers, be it investors, be it whomever on their website. You don't really connect with the product, with the physical thing. Like we just agreed now, right? It's not just the box, it's what it
Right.
serves, it's the promise. So we have to go and find their story. Maybe sometimes it has to do with the childhood or the family, anything that raises emotion,
Mhm.
real things that you can actually connect and subscribe to.
How hard is it for some people to find those stories?
Wow, very hard. I had ages ago when I had a boss and I was complaining that everything is so simple, telling a story. And I was complaining because I felt like, what's the deal here? Anyone can do that. And he told me, no, this is your line of business. This is your expertise. And for others, it's really, really difficult. And add to that, even for myself and probably for you, if you start your work on your website, a new one, or your LinkedIn profile, it's really hard to do it for yourself because you have to step out and you have to zoom out, but then you have to zoom in. It's a bird's eye view on the industry and the mission and the future goals, but also going inside and understanding why am I the best person to do what I'm doing? What's in my DNA, in my CV? What have I done through the years that goes through one career to the other, one step to the other, one position and connects everything together. And that's where the story lies. It's really, really difficult. It's even for myself as well. Whenever I revise something or test a new product, it's hard to tell why I'm doing it now. And until I find it, I don't really have the perfect words or the right ones.
It's so true. And it's funny you say that because it's one of those things that I specifically remember when I was young and all the way up to, I would say, mid to late 20s. I just assumed anyone could write, anyone could tell a story. It was easy. It's one of those things that came easily for me. Once again, for other when I'm writing about other stuff, not myself, right? Like, um, but I took it for granted that anyone else could too. So I didn't even realize the value of what that was for me because it was
Yeah.
so easy for other people. And I know when I talk to friends and clients, there's certain things like a friend of mine is very process oriented and she can take anything and make it a linear process that's very clear and organized and has one focus. And that's not how my brain works. I'm more
Yeah.
multi-passionate. Like, I'm going to work on this and I'm curious about that and I'm going to curious. And somehow all of that will end up in one thing, but the way
Yeah.
I get there is going to be completely different. But you just take for granted. A lot of times we take for granted what we're best at and don't and overlook the powerful
Yeah.
impact it can have on other people.
But that's where the shift starts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the value comes in, even the pricing. When you understand you're the only person who can do that or do that so easily, so fast, so professionally, so unique. And for you, it's easy, but who cares? That's your charm. That's your zone of genius. That's what we need to. That's a term that I adopted a few years ago. And I really try to look into that and see where my zone of genius lies, where I'm best at, feeling best, best to others, you know, the ROI, the return on investment, like I do less but give more. That's best. I mean
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you can actually balance your life because you're in the best state of yourself, your best self, and also have enough time because you can charge enough or the right easy things come. So it means that it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm actually trying to remember right now. I think I have it over there on my bookcase next to me what book that is that they talk about the zone of genius in it. I'm like, okay, it's somewhere over there. I've got a bunch of books next to me.
It would be good to give credit.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's Gary Hendricks. Gary Hendricks. I'll have to look it up. But one of the things that when you shifted into Yellow Bricks, your current business, can you talk a little bit about that shift and how that worked and what made you decide to go into storytelling and all the tremendous work you're doing now?
I don't remember who the person who said that. Maybe that's who Lego was that know that it's so easy for me. But I think someone asked me to revise my career. And then I looked back and I looked for commonality. And I saw I was a journalist. And then I created content. And then in my startups, there was a lot to do with marketing. And I love writing. I published a novel 2 years ago and it's going to be translated into English this year. And I know I love it. I know I'm good at it. I know I need to do something with words and with content. And I could be, I mean, I've done that low tech journalism and then I've done that high tech, but it's always there. And once I found that thread, I decided, okay, we have a name. The child has a name. It has a personality. We can acknowledge it. We don't need to fight. I think it was around the time that I was debating if I'm zigzagging my way, which is not really my generation. I'm an 80s girl. It's not, I mean, my daughter or her older friends could do that, kind of change jobs every 6 months, look for themselves, invent themselves, blah, blah, blah. But future of work actually talks also for our generation about finding what you're good at and just being okay with that. And if you want to change, if your characteristic means that you're changing and shifting, that's okay. So I ask myself a lot of questions around my career and what I've done and what I'm good at and what I'm having fun doing, bringing most value. And then I realized, similar to journalism, where you pick up many different stories, but you have one essence, which is writing. Here, working with different companies, be it tech companies or even low tech, meeting people, working with them on the story, but having the prerogative of sneak peek to each industry. Even in technology, it could be fintech, it could be agriculture, it could be medical devices, anything. So I have access to all of that. And I don't want to give it away. I don't want to just commit to one unless it's a venture or side thing that I do as an entrepreneur. But as a business, I decided that my strength is helping others tell that story, understand what their story is, put it in words, and then help them share it external, the content strategy. And that's what I also teach. I do consultancy, but part of it is workshops. So I help them craft a very well cold outreach, cold email, how to write, how do people want to, what kind of emails people want to get in their mailbox, because usually it's spam and it's annoying. And it's, yeah, nothing that you would start a communication through. But when I teach them step by step the methodology that I develop, it has to do a lot with research and knowing the other person, communicating well. So I teach that and storytelling.
Mm-hmm. There's so many things that you said there. And I think that one of the most important is actually writing the type of emails that you would like to. I mean, there's so many things you said in there, but I'm going to focus on this one right now is writing the type of emails and telling the types of stories that you would want to hear
Mhm.
as it relates to your audience, because there's so many things that are overlooked and so many details that are overlooked that a lot of times companies will get, this idea of their marketing and their content and their story, and here's our story and our mission and our vision, but then they hold it, right? It doesn't evolve, it doesn't grow, it doesn't get applied to anything. So
Yeah.
when you start to look at how do you apply this to your content, how do you apply this to your email, how do you apply this to your communication, that distilling of that story helps keep it alive, right? Like what we were talking about with experiences before, it helps that evolve and keep it alive and make it an actionable, useful thing and not just, oh yeah, there's our story and our mission vision. It's on the wall, right? Like we use
Yeah.
that.
Just copy paste, whatever. Don't ask
Exactly.
questions. Go to page 2. Yeah.
Exactly.
And also maintaining a holistic thread. If
Mhm.
you have that vision, have it through all the other places, all the other outlets, and come with a logic that the audience and the purpose is the first thing. It's why you're doing that, to whom are you doing that. And then when you understand the value that you give in to your specific audience, then you communicate in a way that they would adhere, they would understand, they would want to consume, they would want to be, it's not even consuming. It's not the physical thing. It's not a monetary. It's the value and the relationship. And then from there, once you have the story, when you have everything lined up, you understand it's so easy. Once you finish the hard thing, it's so easy because it comes up naturally. Naturally, you would go to conferences of this and that places and people because that's where you will meet the right, customers or whatever stakeholders. So everything comes together when you have all the puzzles, all the pieces aligned once you crack down the essence of what you're doing.
Absolutely. How, and I know this is a very hard thing to do because we've already talked about when you're trying to do it for yourself, but if someone's listening, do you have any advice for them in terms of how to find your own story or how to get started thinking about that?
Okay, if we're talking about individuals, because even company owners are also individuals,
Yeah.
you can start by doing a very simple exercise and going backwards to your career. Even like I said, that I started at 12. So that's the entrepreneurship bug or spark. That's where it started. So it shows you that this is something that goes along with me. And from there, you can extract the characteristics. What does it entail? What does it mean to go when you're just 12 years old? Knock on doors and offer things. You for sure understand what selling is all about because you start at the bottom at a very young age. So with anyone who's listening, you can go if you have the LinkedIn, even the basic profile there, or your CV that you're submitting somewhere. Go through all the jobs and positions. Don't think about what you've done, but the essence. Note, I answered calls. I was selling to Fortune 500. No, you were doing something else, something deeper, with a lot more meaning. And maybe there's a commonality there. Maybe there's a line that goes along and threaded through your years of career. And that's where the story lies. And also ask yourself at the same time, what do you like? Like hypothetically, if you can do whatever you wish, what would it be? Like another question. Tomorrow is your last day. That's easy, right? And there are times when you are hit by this giant car or truck and life forces you to ask that question. So don't wait for that truck to hit you. Just ask today.
Absolutely. No, it's so funny you say that because one of the things that I just created recently as a giveaway is a workbook to create basically like a bucket list for your career. It's meant to take an hour or longer if you want, but an hour to sit down and go through the exercises to start looking at like what are the things you want to accomplish, whether your career is going to last 10 years, 5 years, or whether you have 30 years left in your career. What are the things you want to do? It was one of the tools I found the first time I got laid off, and there were certain things, it wasn't that per se, but there were certain things that I was like, what do I want to accomplish? And like the book I was going through had me outline it in a certain way, and I've refined it over the years, but it's something that I hold on to because, like, yeah, I did want to write a book. I had a couple slated. I did not realize that co-writing digital etiquette for dummies would be the first book I would ever write. But there we are, and it's on my list, and now I've written a book, and so now I'm free to do whatever. Start looking at those things and start creating that bucket list for your career, not just your personal life. Like what legacy do you want to leave? What does that look like? What did you enjoy the most when you were younger and working or now working? Like it goes right into some of the things you were just talking about in terms of the essence of
It
of what
sounds
you've
like a
done in the
lovely
past.
gift.
Pardon?
And I'm thinking about it sounds like a lovely gift. for
Oh,
anyone to receive. And also, I'm thinking about 2024 that just started. And that's a great time if you haven't before to write out the plan. And I'm thinking, and I'm sorry that I can't quote that person again. I mean, another person I'm just quoting without giving
yeah.
credit. And I'm thinking of the sentence, the phrase saying that if you don't create your own plan, you'll be part of someone else's plan.
Mm.
Because, sorry. Well, just add that later, maybe.
We'll add it later. It's fine. We'll add to, I'll add.
But that's a great sentence. And I try to live by it because when you have a plan, it's one step closer to getting it done. And my tip, I think, the reassuring thing is that writing that plan together with monetary expectations, like what do I want to make this year? Put a number on that, as crazy as you can, logical, and then crazy, and then like fantasy version, and breaking down into I want to be interviewed to Forbes or whatever things like brand recognition. I want to be considered in the, I don't know, 50 by 50 or all these lists.
Mm.
So all the things that you want to do, write them down. Afterwards, it's much easier to work out a plan and see how you progress. If you want you to, up until, I don't know, the years that you want to see, the 3 years plan or the 5 years. But without that plan, there's nothing in your hand. And you're just waiting to maybe get laid off or maybe get promoted, maybe get that bonus or raise, maybe get that investment. Who knows? But you're part of someone else's dreams. Once you have them, I know it's so frustrating and it's so difficult. But I'm sure filling out the booklet that you've created, the book, you say it's an hour. I guess it's much more. I guess it's days of thinking and
Oh,
going backwards. It's not as, it's not.
it
But
is.
you have to
Yeah, it is not as easy. I put a time frame around it because otherwise, if you say it's going to take a few days, no one will ever do
not
it.
just procrastinating and
It's so interesting. I've probably between the places that I've worked and working on clients and my own stuff, I've probably created more marketing plans in my diverse career than just about anyone I know because of the importance of when I was employee, it was the importance of justifying the budget and setting clear goals where, okay, here's the business goals or the organization goals. Here's how we can map to those. And this is what we're going to do to map to those. And these are some of them even had like a code, right? These are the tactics that are going to match to goal A, B, or C. And this is how we outlined it all so they knew what interwove, what was going where, and why we were asking for and doing the work we did. Because sometimes, especially in times of recession, they'd always come to the marketing department and be like, hey, what are you doing before we lay you off? And other times it's been very much that less formal, but it's absolutely, I'm shocked by the number of people and business owners that don't work off plans, that don't have a plan, that think it's a waste of time.
yeah, but I actually think it's also for individuals. Even if you own a company, you have that for the company, but what about professional development, which is not only that business? And what about personal development? What about balance? The tension there is so dangerous. You get burned out so quickly, and then you start from square one again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things have to be aligned in that plan together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. I honestly could keep talking to you for a lot longer, and I know we need to wrap up. So I'm not going to make people listen to me continue with questions, but this has been a really lovely conversation. I absolutely have
Likewise.
loved learning about more about you and what you do in your business. I do have just a few more questions if you have time for just a couple.
Yeah, yeah.
So, when we talk about plans and goals, how do you define success in your
Wow.
business? We'll stick to in your business.
Okay, right. It's a philosophical, almost philosophical question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's narrative question
Mm-hmm.
because you can always attach a story to it. Think of all the people who fail and then they go, I don't know, a year afterwards online on this, I don't know, number one site, and they are interviewed and what happened there, and they're talking to the investors and they have to justify. So sometimes that failure is just, it wasn't a failure or twisting the story. So there are so many ways to own it and twist it for better or worse. I do want to stress that we have to be able to integrate compassion here. That's Brene Brown, right? Talking about that and being okay with not succeeding. And also, once you ask yourself what success is, even if you had on the plan, I want to make on the business plan in the beginning of the year, and the next year follows, and you did not reach that 10 million in revenue, 100 million in revenue or more, and you're very, very far away. So that's failure in a way, but now comes the you have to dive into and understand what happened. You have to do that research and you have to ask yourself the hard questions. What happened? How can I improve? What did I do wrong? Was it external? Some, I don't know, recession in the market or layoffs, massive layoffs. No one was buying anything that I was selling specifically for that event. COVID hit. Who knew? So if I have a conference, in-person conference event company, what do? So first of all, I fail. I do not stand to that criteria of success that I was planning, but I can reinvent myself and I can pivot. So it's okay to fail. It's knowing that it's okay. It's more of a question of how fast you get up afterwards. It's enabling yourself to fall. And that's a quote there. And that's a person we have to, that's a quote that goes with me. It's my husband uses that so much. It's not our fear of falling, but failing, but it's the greatness comes from how fast we rise up on our feet instead of. And I really subscribe to that sentence, to that quote. It's important. It's owning those failures. And I did not mention earlier, but I usually do. I own my scars of two failures. My two startups failed, did not raise money, did not make it, like anything off that bucket list was not ticked off. But still, I learned so many lessons that I do see these today through lenses of success or success of having succumbing a failure, which is also something good because when you think of what are the things that I've accomplished in my lives, I had two startups that failed. That's more than people who did not start a startup, did not take few years of their life following a dream, trying and iterating and learning so many lessons and failing others as well. But that's something I experienced to its fullest, to a degree that it was a failure and I sensed it as a failure. But I think within time, I could look backwards and say, I thank my path, my choices, my career for bringing these to. And I thank myself for owning it. So it's a lot about the narrative and perspective and compassion. How
Right.
do you go on yourself?
That's a great answer. I think that when we're so used to success being defined a certain way, right? The idea of success and what that means. And one of the things I do with my clients based on the NLP studies that I've done, the neuro linguistic programming studies I've done, is really understand their internal values. Because someone can say the same word, like let's say success, which is a little vague. I wouldn't let them get away with that. But say someone says that, no matter what, or freedom or flexibility or respect, whatever those words are that they use or that become one of their values, no one defines it the same way. And so being able to understand what success means for you, for somebody who is really excited about stability, success might be the 9 to 5 job for a government that's going to be steady
Gold
pay from
watch.
start to finish. Right, exactly, the gold watch career. And for other people, it might be, okay, you failed, you had 2 startups that failed. What did you do afterward? It's the failures that don't matter. It's the what did you do afterward that does.
How
So,
did you recover?
exactly, exactly. So, and not just how fast, but what did you decide? Did you let it stop you from doing something else? Besides, did you get up and say, okay, no, that's not for me anymore? Which is also okay. It really just depends on the person and how they look at it. But I think that so much of what you said was so beautiful with compassion and with those being willing and open to look for those lessons, to really find that narrative and reframe it in a way that it's not even reframing it. It's just framing it in a way that's going to help you
And
to.
owning your story.
Uh-huh.
A person can go into a room and someone would say, I see that you failed 5 times. And they will say, I see that I succeeded. I see that I tried 5 times, did my best. It's owning your narrative and the story. Same goes with anyone who's working on their LinkedIn profile, even. It's your story. Choose how to tell it.
Absolutely. So the last question I have for you, actually, I have two more. I promise. We're done. I just glad I can't stop asking you questions. What advice do you have for someone who might be listening and thinking, well, that's great for them, but my situation and my business is different. I don't have, there's no story in it. Do you
There's
have?
always a story. I think anyone can ask their mom or their dad, and they would tell them they're a very unique snowflake, right? Even if they're part of twins, they are very, very unique. There's just one person. And then they have to do this exercise. And it could be going through history, what they've done. It could be going through people who love them and ask them, just tell me 5 words about me. Or when you see my name on the screen, when I'm calling you, or when you get a message from me, what is the first thing you think of? Or think of a metaphor that best describes. Ask your customers, what are you for them? Not what's your product. Do they like to get the emails from you? Do they like to get the invoice or the receipt from you? I mean, what is the what is the reaction? What do you spark in people? And I'm sure if they have a business which is still working or partly working, maybe there's some hurdles, but what's the interaction between them and the world? What they're bringing? Even if they have like a small business and they have so many competitors around, they still have people who prefer them because of the beautiful eyes, because of their energy, because of the essence, because of the way they're treating or addressing something. Maybe it's a consultancy and they're bringing the innovative POV. There are answers there. But the story would really, really help and also would bring them some clarity about their value and about their essence and about why they like doing what they're doing.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Absolutely. Before we wrap up, can you please let people know where they can find you? We want to connect
Sure.
and learn more.
Yeah. So, of course, LinkedIn, I mentioned it a lot. I try to focus on one social media. This is the business one. So, Tovit Neizer, you can find me there and connect. Please do. That's the way to build your brand. And on my website, yellowbricks.net. That's it.
That's
That's
it.
the way.
Easy, fantastic, simple. I love it. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, Tovit.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you all for joining us today. And remember, at kendralosee.com, you can find business visibility, strategy, and coaching, and our upcoming Invincible to Invincible Lab for mindset marketing for your business. Thank you. And until next time, I'm Kendra Losee. Bye.
Bye.